Hey, Bobby here, and today in this brief lesson we're going to be talking about some of the things that you might want to look for when you're buying a guitar. We're going to talk about different types of guitars, acoustic, electric, classical, maybe break out a jazz guitar and have a look at that, just so you can see what to expect and what to look for in different types of guitars. The guitar I'm holding is a pretty good, solid, intermediate level acoustic guitar. So we'll take a moment and talk about acoustic guitars first, what you might want to look for, just different things to maybe observe about the guitar. I always tell people that the one thing when buying a guitar, especially if you're a beginner and you don't have much experience playing, the one thing that you really want to look for in a guitar is low action, low string height. Okay, the action is a term used to describe the height of the strings off the fretboard. So this guitar actually has pretty solid action. It's pretty low, especially up in this area, the first 4 or 5 frets, which is probably going to be where you're spending most of your time at first if you're a beginner. So it's really good to have low action in this area. A lot of guitars have a natural curve to the neck. They're adjusted that way to where they have a natural curve to the neck, so the action gets a little bit higher as you move closer to the body. That's fine. This guitar actually has pretty solid action all the way across the neck. That's really something that you want to look for, is a guitar that has low action, because if not, you're going to have a real struggle playing it. It's going to be a drag. You might get frustrated. And also keep in mind that a lot of guitars have medium gauge strings on them when they're hanging in the showroom. If you are a beginner, you can put on really light strings, which will hopefully be easier on your fingertips, make the strings a little more easy to manipulate. And that kind of leads into the next category, which is sound, the overall sound of the instrument. Newer strings are always going to sound better than old strings. This guitar has pretty old strings on it. I know a lot of people, when they're serious about buying an acoustic guitar, they'll actually have new strings put on it. I mean, this is usually more experienced players that are getting ready to drop a pretty decent chunk of change on a guitar. They'll actually put new strings on it so they can really hear how the guitar is going to sound with new strings. Now, let's say you have $300 to spend on an acoustic guitar. Now, you may be able to find a guitar that has a solid top. This is the top, okay, or the soundboard, some people call it. Most of the time on cheaper, lesser quality instruments, the wood is what you call laminated, which is like several thin layers of wood that are glued together. Okay, laminated wood doesn't really resonate as well as a solid piece of wood does. Okay, this particular guitar has a laminated top and laminated sides and back. Okay, so all the wood is laminated. Again, that's really common in beginner, intermediate quality instruments. But in the $300 to $500 range, you could still probably find a guitar that has a solid top at the very least, a solid spruce top. Spruce is the most common wood that is used for tops on acoustic guitars. So you may want to take a little extra time and look around for a guitar that actually has a solid top. It'll be louder, for one thing. Solid tops produce more volume than laminated tops do. And it'll also have a more full sound to it, more of a rounder tone to it, and especially on the bottom end. I mean, you tend to get just a more full, round sound out of a guitar that has a solid top. So that's another important feature. The action, definitely, you want a guitar that plays well, even if it is laminated. But if you can probably find a guitar in that price range that has a solid top if you look around for it. Now, a couple other things. This is a standard scale length guitar. By scale length, I mean the distance from here, this piece, the nut, to this other point of contact down here, the saddle. It seems to be a standard size acoustic guitar scale length. Now, if you're buying a guitar for a child, or if you're buying a guitar for someone who has smaller hands, if you yourself have smaller hands, many companies do manufacture smaller scale instruments for children and for people that do have smaller hands. So that's one thing you want to consider. If you are buying a guitar for a child, you can look for a smaller scale guitar just to get them started, because it can definitely be frustrating to have to play on a full-size instrument, for a kid. So that's one thing you want to consider. There definitely are, companies that make smaller scale guitars for beginners and for people with smaller hands, so that may be something that you want to look into. Now, as far as the body design of this guitar is concerned, this is a standard, what you call dreadnought style body design, but it has a cutaway. You may have noticed down here that this whole section of wood is kind of cut out. This isn't a necessary feature by any means, okay? This is for people that maybe are more experienced. They want to come up and play more like, lead guitarists in the upper register of the guitar. It's not an essential trait, but if you are a more experienced player, yeah, cutaway is definitely something that you might want to consider. Or if you're buying a guitar for someone who is already a real solid electric player and that is a lead guitar player already, a cutaway is a feature that you may want to consider for them. They may want to have easy access to the higher frets. Another thing to consider is that a lot of acoustic guitars these days actually come with electronics. So you can plug them in and play them like electric guitars. So you can plug into an amp or to a PA system. This particular guitar does have electronics, if you can see up here. It also has equalization, volume knob. It has a built-in tuner as well, a pretty common feature. And they have a normal jack, like a normal 1/4-inch input jack, like a lot of electric guitars have. This particular guitar also has an XLR output, so you can plug directly into a PA system, which is real convenient. Now again, these aren't, the whole XLR thing. That's not like a necessary feature by any stretch, but it is nice, again, if you are buying for a more experienced player, someone who's probably going to be playing amplified. Electronics are something that you want to look into. It has a pickup, which is located underneath the saddle here. It's called a piezo pickup. So that may be something to look for if you are buying a guitar for a more experienced player or someone who already plays electric. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful to you. Now we're going to move on to electric guitars.